Live from the jazzguitarlessons.net studio, you're watching the Beatrice November 2018 Tune of the Month Club. So my name is Marc from jazzguitarlessons.net. I typically want to use this other camera, but it doesn't work, so you guys have to see the mess. And the blue shirt, that's the blue shirt I use to shoot other videos. It's all well hung on the guitar, as it should. So I'm sorry about the bad video quality. Sometimes technology does not want to comply. So we'll be running through this standard Beatrice that we have on the website that has been featured. You have to forgive my voice. I will be taking it easy. I sense that it's on the verge of breaking right now. And I will be doing some screen shares with you so we can analyze the song. It's a very, very challenging arrangement we have today. This month for this song. Nick, who wrote this, did a wonderful job. All due credits. It's amazing what he did. It's very modern. So what I will not do is go through all these intricate soloing changes and all of it. I will try to give you first a lesson on how to approach a song. And analyzing the chords and the melody, how they work out together, of course. But also we will just look at, say, the beginning. So the first few bars of the solo to give you a taste of, oh, that's the concept that he's using. And hopefully, even if you don't learn the entire arrangement, you can still have a takeaway on it and go, oh, okay, I know what he's doing now. As time goes by, you know me, I really have to drink a cup of coffee or 13. I've been at work as of now for 9 hours today, guys. And side note, personal, my wife is turning 25 today, so we'll have to go out, party a little bit, go to a fancy restaurant, do an escape room sort of thing. So I have many more hours to go today before I can hit the sack. Is that hit the sack or hit the pillow? So let's get going immediately with Beatrice. As we are working on this, I will open the window and see. Bear with me 1 second. Yes, you can ask questions here directly on YouTube. If I can't see your question, just be patient. In this webinar, I will get to looking at questions once in a while, whenever I can. Can I extract this pop-up chat? Yeah, that's useful. Okay, so I will be able to see your messages in real time. However, I may take a few more minutes to answer so I can finish my thoughts on whatever I was working on or trying to explain. So let's jump in. Are we ready? 3 minutes in? Let's do it. Beatrice is a Sam Rivers song. It's in the key of F major. And first chord is this, and the first melody note is, of course, the C note, which is da 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 da. A really, I would say, relatively simple melody. I have to be so careful. Look at this. But you see this post? This is a light post. So I have to be really mindful of not hitting it, or else there might not be another webinar. I'm kidding. So I have to make sure I am comfortable and that you guys can see the guitar, which is not always simple when your camera stops working. I will take a moment to share my screen and to maybe do some sort of a harmonic analysis, and at the same time look for some clues as to what the melody is in terms of extensions and melodic degrees and etc. Let's see if this works. Screen share. Application window. Yes, this guy here. Yay, we're on. So this, oh, that's a bit small, I guess. So let's look at the first 4 bars. Yes, the tune is in the key of F major. And people will look at this and go, G flat major is not in the key of F major. But this is also a case of, Girl from Ipanema, something like half step up. You have to look at this as a tritone sub in disguise. Very common movement to use a major chord a half step up from your destination. So there you have F major 7. I hope you guys can at least see this. I'm trying to outline. It doesn't do anything, right? Sorry about that, guys. So you get F major 7 to G flat major 7. Notice how the melody is C, 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 F, C, C, B flat, C. F is the 7th of G flat major. And C, sorry, can't play. C is the sharp 11, so this denotes a Lydian chord all over the G flat major 7. That's just part of the melody. It's not like, oh, we're trying to be fancy and we decided to have this. It's not an applied scale. It's part of the melody, actually. Then we have F major, then we have E flat major. Once again, I'll bring your attention to what's happening with the E flat major here, because the E flat major is not part of anything we know, but we know we're going to D minor after. And the key of D minor is the relative minor to F major. So you have to think about of the first few bars like this. You have F major going a half step up, F, G flat. So you go, whoops, pick falling down. That's the spirit. So F, G flat major, F. Then you do the same with D flat, with D minor. D minor, and up and back down. So it's the same harmonic trait that is happening right now. That's exactly the same. No big surprise. Here we have, so F, I step up to F. I hope you see my mouse. Hey, let's do this. Let's make it bigger. No silly jokes, guys. Please, I'm trying to concentrate here. Mouse pointer. Oh, they say cursor size. Love that. Okay, how's this cursor? Probably doesn't change much for you, but I see it super big, so it's good. So half step up, D minor, half step up, and back to D minor. Then we have passing chords. So you'll notice D minor 7, C minor 7. And this is just a bunch of 3 chords a whole step away that is aiming at A minor. Okay? What is interesting with that is A minor is the chord that we would say we'd call 3 in the language of Roman numerals, right? Because your 1 is F major 7. And then you're going down, you're going up, F, G, A, and 3 is, in a certain way, it's almost like an inversion of F. So it's an interesting fact that we move from D minor, just going down plainly, and then down to A. And guess what A does? A does that same thing. We have an A minor, then we have a B flat major 7, which is a half step up. And then the part that we have the held note here is just a tiny bit different, because that's the point where people typically at jam sessions will do a crescendo. So starting from A, I'll just sing. So dum, da, 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 dee, pop, and they'll kind of increase in intensity and volume over that held A, and hit that G like an accent and make it a pop, an accented note. And then finally at the end, we go back to having our, you get all, it's like this guy's 2-5-1. It's Halloween soon, right? So G minor 7, the G flat major 7, this acts, G flat major acts as a tritone sub from the C. And now, surprise, instead of going to the major F, we go to a minor F and go back. So if you studied classical music to any extent, you are probably aware of what they call la tierce de Picardie, the Picardy third, I guess. So what they did back in the, I would say, the Stone Ages, in the Middle Ages, is our ears as humans had trouble adapting to that minor tonality. So when they finished songs, they would finish a minor song over a major chord instead. So this is the opposite. This is a song in F major, clearly, but we are deciding to end it on an F minor for its beauty, because it's more mysterious. And our 20th 21st century ears can't tolerate it. If you hear a fan in the background, that's my Mac sort of heating up right now. So what we have, once again, F major area, then D minor area, then A minor area. So F, D, and A are very closely related in the key of F. And lastly, we just have this cadence. This is almost, we could say, like the modern version of a turnaround. And remember at the end, it's played different way by different people, different recordings, but the point is these hits here that we have in bar 13, typically all the band will hit this at the same time because it's a good reunion spot. It's like a 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, ba, 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 da, da. Then people do whatever they want after, kind of. By the way, I did not mention this, but we have I've played this song extensively at jam sessions. It's something that people call, at least locally in Montreal and Ottawa, they will just call that tune because it's kind of easy to jam on. You can play it in straight 8, which is sometimes more fun than that swinging 8. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen and just do a quick recap for you guys and play. If you'd like to play along, do we have a camera? Do we? No camera. Come on, guys. Yay, I'm back. So if you want to play along to this, I'll just play a chorus to give you an idea how the chords sound. And this has nothing to do, unfortunately or fortunately for you guys, nothing to do with the arrangement we have in Tune of the Month this month. This is just like a little feature so you can get used to using these chords. You ready? 1, 2, 2, 3, 4. D minor now. Hitting A minor, 3, 4. Another round. Da 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 dee da da do da 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 dee bo ba bee ba bo ba billy ba da 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 ba 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 ba. Then no surprise, if you're about to do a tag ending on that song, you'll go or use a melody. So what I'm playing here actually is G flat major with a triad of D flat on top. So it's you take that voicing and you kind of make it so you get your F note on top. You could even play this. That's a pure F minor triad and go, because that's G flat Lydian. So notice how G flat Lydian is just one note away from a pure F minor 7 or pure F minor. Good. So that's one I wanted to share with you guys as far as harmonic analysis. And can you rescreen? Can I resize this? It seems with the big cursor size you cannot. So I have to take my cursor size down again. Sorry, guys. Cursor size. It's almost like an exercise for your cursor size. Get it? Okay. Can I resize the screen? I cannot. Yes, I can. Magically, with the magic of the internet. I've got a camera now, Nathan said. Thanks, Nathan. Yeah, as a team, we're always like working together. So now I want to address something, discuss about, take a few minutes at least to talk about the chord melody. And it contains a lot of not obvious substitutions that a lot of people could maybe freak out about. So I think Nathan commented again, says, or we can be vibing each other. Mostly that. It's mostly vibing, to be honest. It's like jazz guitar is just an excuse to get to the vibing part. So to come back to that chord melody idea, we have a chord melody that contains not immediately obvious substitutions, and a few key points I want to address. I will share my screen with you to show you some of the things that if you want, I detected that could be of use in teaching, because as I mentioned earlier, it's tackling the entirety of this chord melody is for advanced students, advanced people, even I would say verging on the professional. I personally would need a few days to line this up to be able to perform it properly. Now, don't perform the videos on those anymore, but to say the least, is that we have, I'm looking at my good old moleskin here. So we have a lot of satellite chords. To give you an idea about what I mean about a satellite chord would be if you have in the first bar you have an F major, then the chord immediately after is a C major triad, just a C. So then you can say, okay, F to C, it's like 1-5 movement. However, what we have, if you look at it in the notation, we have a C chord over an E bass. So then you're like, so, and then the bass continues to go down. So like, oh, you can see that the underlying logic of it has to do with what the bass is doing, how the bass is moving. And you know what, guys? I should just put a drape on the other wall so it's completely back. That would solve so many issues for me when I'm teaching and stuff. Check. Half of it is black. Crazy. So let's dig in and look at least one or two of the substitutions. A few things that I wrote down is, number one, if you tackle this bar by bar, say maybe 2 bars or 4 bars at a time, you will see if you know your triads and inversions, because we have a lot of triads inverted. Take a look at bar 4, for instance. That's D flat major, then to an E flat major. But we'll seldom use these chord voicings, or even just a beat before the last beat of bar 3. That's F major, first inversion. So F major, first inversion, D flat major, second inversion, E flat major, second inversion. That's pretty hectic. Also, so you will learn your triads. You will also, you'll also master some fingerings that are not obvious. I'll take a look at bar 3, for instance. Well, you have a G flat major, sharp 11, going to an F major. You're like, Marc, why would you do this? Your index now is useless in that position, right? But the reason is that we're going to this guy after, and if you don't use that, you're going to have to reconfigure your entire hand and you'll lose time. So there are fingerings that you will use that are very much dependent on the context. So that's one of the big takeaways. So the melody in the bass has to do with the arrangement, the knowing your triads, the bass melody, the fingerings, and then you will notice that this is a simplification of the melody. So this is not something you could look at and go, hey guys, at a jam session, I'm just going to play that. It's like, you would need to play this alone. You would need to play this probably rubato without a tempo. That's how the video is actually in the store, in store.jazzguitarsons.net, where you watch the videos of the performance. Like, you can't really play that in time. It has to be slow. Let me point you also to the fact that the melody is relatively so it's simplified, and it's not phrased in any way. It's just a bunch of quarter notes. So check this out. You know the Beatrice, da 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 ti ba da po da ba da 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 da. So now it turned into 1, 2. So it's simply just a bunch of quarter notes, and under each, we're like inventing an excuse to put a different chord that is satellite. And let me also bring your attention to the fact that some of these things are happening and they're super close to one another. So this guy, first bar, this is close to this, to this. If you want to take a different fingering, you can go. So you get F, F8. That's a major third, this minor third, this minor third. So ba, 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 ba. You know, that's the logic. Ba, ba, ba. Furthermore, you could just oh no, that's wrong. Sorry. What I was playing at first was totally wrong. So the point is, look how close this is. This is so close. This is a major triad. This is the minor triad immediately under, then the major triad you do with changing just one note, all the while this is repeated. So it's just beautiful inner voice movement. Then you get to continue in that area. So as I mentioned earlier, you know, F major and D minor are so much related, and the fact is bar 2 starts with a D minor. And then it goes to a chord that is only, I would say, 2 notes away. You know, these. So this stays the same. Then you hear. So once again, it's that game of this stays and this moves. Sorry. And then you get a lot of half-step movements that are developed. And then if you look at a chord in a classical theory context, it's like, you know, it doesn't work, but it works because it's passing and it's going somewhere. My last point about this. So yeah, we can take a look at the first 4 bars. But one thing I'll bring to your attention, or first 8 bars maybe, is look at bar 6, where you get B minor, then you get B minor 7, then B flat major. So you hear. Those are fourths with a bass melody. So it's really cool at but then you get. So first then you have how hard can this be, right? This is so not hard. But the point is the melody is bo be ba bo bo be ba. It's so modern and smooth, and people will go, you know, this is not right. But then if I'm here and I want to go there, what's the most obvious way? It's like the straight line. One finger. There's no finger hidden. It's just me, just the index. So that's the gist of it in terms of filling in. Also, when I say we can look at the first 8 bars now, I'll tell you something interesting that I would recommend you sing that melody and play the bass part. I'm going to attempt to do that right now. Ba 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 be ba ba bo ba ba bo 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 ba. That's the first 4 bars. I'm just going to redo just the bass alone. 3, 4. In and of itself, it's an interesting bass melody. Then second, so bars 5 through 8. 1, 2. Let's do that again. 3, 4, 1. So lots of chromatic descending notes. And then if you pair that with the melody, then all you have to do is find one more filling note, and there's not going to be 10 different choices. There might be 1 or 2 choices that are immediately obvious, either with these easy chord grips or with the fact that, you know, an F major chord, it's pretty nice if you have an A note right there, right? So that's how this thing was built, basically. So starting with a melody that was simplified, and then with a bass that we made. Oh, you know, the bass part is interesting. There's more to it than that, but that's where I can throw you some hints and go like, this is how we built it, this is how it works. And even though this is a unique piece on Beatrice and that it's operates from a very modern paradigm, there's still an underlying logic to it, because we have these guideposts through the songs. Like we hit that big F chord, that big D minor chord, that big whatever. Side note, on bar 9 we have an F chord, and this is where typically in the arrangement you have an A, And funny enough, this is one of my favorite guitar chords ever. It's this one. And this is often called, it's an F triad, but with an A open bass. And you just you make the G string open. And it just sounds so fantastic. So when I said earlier that actually the A minor is a 3 chord, and it's a first inversion F major chord in disguise, this is exactly what I was talking about. There's a lot of little gems in that arrangement, but I'll leave it at that for you to kind of figure out the parts that you like. Start small, start slow, and see connections in between the things that are in between the chords and the melody, and the fact that you're allowed to take a melody that's simple like this and to kind of transform it into something that does not have phrasing for the purpose of adding chords underneath. Good. And now let's jump to where are we? Oh yes, you're gonna love this. About major 7 sharp 5 chords. I'm sure Nathan's going to love this too. So I just want to take a moment to describe maybe where these are coming from, because what we have coming up after is the comping study. And the comping study has tons of friggin' major 7 sharp 5 chords. So let me take a step back. Sharp 5, what does it mean? It means raising the 5th degree. You can look at it as a triad. So you can say C major is C, E, G, but you can say C major triad, C, E, G sharp. So on the guitar, you play your cowboy C, yeehaw, and you add a G sharp. So I'm convinced you've heard that sort of movement on major chord. Well, you get this, the 5th moves up and then moves up again to the 6th and back down. It's a typical da, 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 da. It's like sort of romantic, There was the standard that I played a while back called Where is the One? And Ed Bickers plays it. I haven't heard anyone else play it. I know it's an old standard, and it uses a major 7 sharp 5 chord at one point. So this is what's happening with a major 7 chord. I'm sure you've heard major 7 sharp 5. I'm sure you've heard chords with minor chords where the 5th moves up and down, and case in point, I'll use the A minor and go. James Bond. That's the A minor where you get it. But actually, the song it's played in E minor. This, and the last chord, always my favorite. That's the original like 60s or 50s or 60s James Bond, and that motion of the 5th going up to the 6th it's a classic. Also in Latin tunes, sometimes you hear the. Sometimes it's on major chords. It depends on the context. So now, what I want to insist on now is, by taking this slight detour, is we have C major sharp 5. So C major, we say augmented. This means taking the C major triad, adding a G sharp to it. If you do the same to its relative minor, you will get a sound that we say minor major 7. And this is, you see this on lead sheets often. If you're confused by this, you can say, okay, what's the deal with, what's the deal with that? Is it a minor chord? Is it a major chord? So the point is, it is a minor chord, but it has a major 7th on it. So we called, as funny jazz musician, we called it minor major 7. And so you take an A minor chord, and you would replace the A note here by a G sharp. Notice how this is the same G sharp that we used on the C major. Thus, A minor major 7 and C major sharp 5 have a lot in common because they're relative major and minor, and the G sharp note has an implication. You can think of the G sharp so I'll get to this in a moment. You can think of the G sharp as coming from harmonic minor first, or in certain cases, you can think of it as coming from a melodic minor as well, which I'll get into in a moment. So that's an interesting way to add spice. Although I want to be careful because I saw some stuff online that I didn't agree with. I don't know if you saw this cartoon. It's a wife telling the husband, "Are you coming to bed?" It's like, no, someone is wrong on the internet. I have that syndrome sometimes. And sometimes I would say people get to work on things like I'm going to practice my major 7 sharp 5 chords, but they don't really know where it comes from. So you can practice all these licks and all these things, but if you don't associate it with its source, if you want, then it gets difficult to know actually what you're doing and if you could reapply that stuff in another context. All right. So just caveat: don't work on things in a vacuum. Always know how it originated, how it came to be that we had this chord in the music, right? So let's, before I go into the copying study and talk about, F major 7 sharp 5, why is it there? Why is it not there? I want to mention that these sorts of chords are very hyper. So I find that, say you play a C major 7 chord and then you add a sharp 5 to it, it's hyper and it's dissonant, but not like a dominant chord would be dissonant. So it's just a nice way, a nice, colorful, modern way of adding flavors in your harmony. And it's interesting because it's been done a lot by modern players, Pat Metheny and such. They do that because we kind of tolerate it now, while I guess we didn't maybe 60 years ago. It's interesting how the culture evolves to tolerate, so people are more, you appreciate the beauty in things that previously are. So Nathan says, "Preach, Mark." I'm preaching to the choir. You're the only one here. So in a way, the culture, the ears are evolving to appreciate, to find beauty in things that previously would have been too dissonant. We're enlarging the palette, and it's something I really enjoy. So be mindful that this chord is hyper. It's a way to add tension. So you have to be mindful about resolving it, which I have to fully admit I'm not really fond of doing because I'm not skillful at it, not yet at least. So it's a thing oh, we have Telmo. Hey, Telmo, thanks for joining in. Tuning in. Of course, you can comment here, and if you can comment in real time, but if you're watching this in a replay, you can ask questions below the video. We attempt to get these timings to know at what time I'm talking about what, so you guys can browse through the video without hearing me ramble for an hour as usual. So you have to be mindful about resolution. Now let's talk about where to find that chord. And I want to, just take one more minute of your time to give you the snapshot detail. All right, let's go into key of C major, just for now. Nothing new here. If you're not familiar with this, it might go like this. Just bear with me. To get C melodic minor, you need to add an E flat, or to change the E to an E flat. So C, D, E flat, F, G, A, B, C. That is called C melodic minor. Again. If you did your homework and you know the website and you're starting to get a hang of jazz, you know that within a key you get a lot of chords. You get 7 chords. If you're in a major scale, for instance, C major, E minor, E minor, you get all these chords that we call 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now, if we do change one note, like we did with melodic minor, we will get a bunch of different chords, provided that the chord contained an E note. All right. So what's interesting is that we have a major chord that has both a sharp 5 and a sharp 4. I'm just saying this because it's a fact, but you can also double check it. Starting on the 3rd degree of C melodic minor. So if you take C melodic minor, you go 3 here. The chord that lives on that degree is an A flat major, 7 with a 9th, with a sharp 4, and sharp 5. Where is it? Yes. No, that's the 6. I'm sorry. Yeah, got it. Sorry. 1, 3, 5, 7. So yeah, Telmo mentioned in the video that those are different diatonic chords. So I'm missing something. Sorry. 1, 3, 5, 7, 11. Sorry, 1, 3, sharp 5. Okay, right. So the note in question here is E flat, G, B natural, D, F, and A. So you get both a sharp 5 and a sharp 4. So the chord can be said to be E flat 7, E flat major 7, sharp 5 with a sharp 11. If you can do this here. Very difficult. And you can say that whenever you find a chord with a sharp 5, it's that chord. So you say, third degree melodic minor. That's the origin. I like to relate it back to the parent scale. Or alternatively, you can say, we can do the same with harmonic minor. Harmonic minor is one more note away. So you take C, D, E flat, F, G, A flat, B, and C. All right. And then the E flat chord remains the same. It's E flat major 7 sharp 5, but there is no sharp 4 in this one. So those are the two origins of that chord. One is really hyper with sharp 4 and sharp 5. The other one is really just sharp 5. Telmo asking a question, is it dominant? It is not dominant. It is major because of the 7. So 1, 3, sharp 5, and natural 7. So it's not a dominant. A dominant with a sharp 5 would have been fine because dominants tolerate a lot of dissonance, but this one is just pure gold, pure major 7 glory. So that's it. Sip of coffee before I die, before I pass out. So this is my side note. I know I took I took almost like 10 or 15 minutes to explain what a major 7 chord is, but it's important to know what it is, that you can't just do this in a vacuum, go, oh, you know this chord now, major 7 sharp 5. You could, but you have to be mindful of resolving it properly, and also where you get those. So you will see those sometimes on modern tunes, and the guys will go major 7 sharp 5 sharp 4 sharp 5 sharp 11. So 4 and 11 are equivalent, right? And you go, whoa, and then you realize, oh, the guy is just talking about it's coming from melodic minor. So good case in point to study your melodic minor modes, guys. It's a really good habit. And now let's jump into the comping study before my voice is completely giving out. I think I took a walk in the fresh air last night at about 10 p.m. and it's fall here. It's autumn, and it's I think it got to my throat. Always been the guy that suffered from throat infections and things like that, unfortunately. So let's move on to the comping study. Namely, that we have major 7 chords starting right at the beginning, but I want to insist on a few things. So number one, your first chord is this, with an increased 5. So if you know where the 5 is in the chord, you can easily tackle it. And then same thing with this type of voicing. You just have to change one note, and those are both used, and even this one. So this is a drop to inversion, by the way. I just have a question I want to tackle by Telmo. So his question is, whenever you see a major 7 sharp 5 sharp 11, it comes from the melodic minor scale. I would say yes, because the fact that you have so much information in one chord symbol. Say you see this, you see E flat major 7. So already you know 1, 3, 7. Then you get the 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It means you get 5 notes right within your chord symbol, and the 2 notes that are left. So the two notes that are left to you to figure out are what is the second degree and what is the sixth degree. And chances are, if you see this telmo, it's because the chord symbol is telling you what scale it is, basically. It's giving you 5 notes out of the 7 notes. The 2 other ones, in the case of E flat major 7 sharp 5 sharp 11, that's a mouthful. Then it's just all natural notes except the E flat. So if you look at a keyboard, it's like all the white notes except the E is an E flat, is a black note. And this is just E flat, F, G, A, B, C, D, E flat. I wouldn't say it has to be that, because you can find a crazy guy that decides that the ninth or the sixth of this chord is changed. But if the sixth is a half step down, then that's equivalent to the sharp 5, and if the sixth is a half step up, it's equivalent to dominant, so it wouldn't. So the sixth is fixed, and the ninth has to be fixed. Yeah. No, to answer your question, yeah. Every time you see major 7, sharp 4, sharp 5, it's because it's third degree melodic minor. When you see sharp 5, it could either be third degree melodic minor or third degree harmonic minor when they don't specify the sharp 4. Yeah, good. Now continuing to the comping study, you get F major here. That's just that plain impromptu shape, and you just take the fifth up. And then in that arrangement, you get this, then you get the F6-9 voicing. So just a neat way to go to really resolve nicely down to things that are not tense. So namely, that's an F6-9 chord. And then you get the G flat. This is a major 7 sharp 5. This is plain major 7. Then major 7 sharp 5. And then you just get another note. That's a sixth again. Then we'll go down and go. Sorry. That's also 6. It says major 7 on the chart. Actually, it's a 6, major 6 chord. And with the major 7 sharp 5 on bar 4, same thing. This is exactly the same thing as bar 1, but 2 frets down. So from the beginning, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh. And we have a little bit of rhythm. Now, bar 5, all my spiel about, how the relative minor, if it has a minor major 7, it's equivalent of the relative major when it has a sharp 5. Look at bar 5, we have a D minor major 7. And we played that. So you take a D minor 9 and you just change the 7 to be a 7 and you reconfigure. So notice how we have a C sharp that is used, and that's a major 7. And that C sharp is none other than that C sharp in the F chord. So that's how we see that the relationship between minor major 7 and major 7 sharp 5 it's the same note, basically. I want to address a few things before, because I still need to talk about the single note solo. Tons of beautiful lines in the single note solo. Crazy, beautiful, amazing lines. So what I want to talk about in the comping study is, first, see how that top note is just a beautiful, simple melody. We did not build a comping study on Beatrice going, we're going to be crazy and add sharp 5s. We went, okay, let's go 1, 2, 3, 4. It's so, in French we'd say conjoint. It's moving linearly up or down. There's not a lot of jumps. And what happens with this is our ears can really latch onto that and say, okay, there's a logic. It's better than a guy going like here and here and here and here, and you jump and there's no sense. We just make sure that the top note is moving smoothly and that the chords will follow. And that involves resolving, say, bar 5. Sorry. So you get this. You get these things, da, 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 and repeated notes, so it makes for a logic. So one, the top note is very important. Number 2, we kind of looked at the first 8 bars quickly. Number 3, sorry, that's a coffee. Mostly half notes. So that's important to see that when you have your sharp 5 chords, you take one chord to establish a sharp 5 and the second chord to resolve it. So that's why we have a lot of half notes within the arrangement itself. It's just, it makes total sense. And lastly, I just want to tell you, observe, there's a few gems as far as chord shapes, but see how good the chord shapes are and simple they are in terms of what you already know. It's mind-boggling that you can just create so much beauty in the first, I don't know, the first 8 bars with shapes that you kind of already know, and even triads. Case in point, there's one new one I'm pretty sure you probably are not familiar with because I wasn't. So this guy, bar 11, that's an A7. That's a sharp 9, that's a sharp 5, or sharp 9, or flat 13. So it's an altered chord, and here you get the thirds and the tonic. It's just, it was just in the context, this guy fits perfectly. So think of it like you get this open fifth at the top, and you get this at the bottom. Really, really, really interesting. And lastly, I would just want to look at one thing. So bar 8, we get D flat major 7 sharp 5, which is this, going to a B flat minor triad. So do your homework, please. B flat minor is a relative minor to D flat major. So by using D flat major in the bar where there should be a B flat minor, we're just using a sharp 5 on the relative major and a major 7 on the minor chord that's related. Good. I have Nathan with a comment here. Yes, Nathan, thank you for the comment. Saying that to reiterate what Marc said, crazy chords can be really well balanced by a logical, easy to follow melody. So aim for your top melody to make sense. And then even if you do crazy things, you can get away with murder somewhat in your comping. Okay, good. Now let's talk about the madness in the single note solo. So we only have, I guess, how much time do we have? 13 minutes to go. So that'll be all the time we spend on that single note solo. It's been enough, and I think my voice is just about to give out. It'd be amazing if I just whisper these webinars. It's not. It would sound like a death metal album. Next card. Major 7 sharp 5. Okay, I'll stop kidding. So number of things. I will not go through the full arrangement. It is really, really cool. Telmo is saying tea would be better than coffee. It's actually true, Telmo. I have a long night ahead of me, though, so I have to take even more coffee later. And Nathan is adding to this concept. So let's jump into the chord melody, the single note solo just a little bit later. I'll reiterate what Nathan wrote, my right arm man. He's saying, because these really dissonant chords are a backdrop to the melody, you don't really hear that dissonant as much. It just sort of feels like coloring the melody. It's exactly right, Nathan. It's like when you have something in the foreground, you can do a lot of things in the background. So think, or in the middle ground, like symphony orchestra, they play a whole bunch of notes, and it sounds great because it's consequent. It's consequent, like it's inevitable with one another, so long as there's a strong driver, and that's it. So Nathan also said that if I whisper, I could do these videos where I lull you to sleep, hypnosis videos and things like that. I don't think I could, because it would be like, now you're very relaxed, and next thing you know, there's a flat line on that chord. It wouldn't work. Okay, single note study. No more joking around. I have a few notes. If you want to tackle this and you are interested in the single note solo, I'd recommend looking at the pattern logic behind everything. even though it's written in hieroglyphs, it's written in notes, and then it's written in tabs underneath. I will just take a look at the first 4 bars and go, okay, you get this, and then you get, of course, that's the same fingering, and the pattern, it still fits that scale. So it's a second and a fourth again, and then of course the tabs show you a different fingering, so you stay in the same area, but it's still the same. And again, so you get exactly the same pattern played 4 times. So that's more important to figure this out at first, and to go, oh, same pattern repeated, got it. Because that's where the beauty of the solo is, and then you can run with it and make your own ideas like that without having to memorize this entire solo yourself. Notice that this is one of the things I said in the introduction videos to Beatrice that we have in the course, is creating crazy things, and sometimes they don't always fit, is fine so long as you have continuity, which we were just talking about. Let me try that again. Continuity. Thank you. It's like the word statistician. A lot of trouble with that word. So it's continuous, and you continuous. Thank you. And you feel these ideas moving forward. And even if you have weird notes, it's like once again, your driver is the fact that the pattern is consistent with itself. So look for that. And what I really enjoyed looking at is you get this for the first 4 bars, and then you get to the set of bar 5 through 8, and you get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then it gets sort of crazy because it's 5 notes. So if you play a stream of 5 8 notes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 2. Oh, case in point, it's still the same pattern, a fourth and a second. If you do this properly and you don't skim over your pattern, it's going to take you 5 bars to wrap it around. So this idea is a symmetrical idea from bar 5 through bar 9, and it sort of ends in bar 10. So let me take you through it. So here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's hard to count with it because it's groups of 5. So it's hard not to accent this idea, this first note. Then it does something else. So once you hear this, it's like a polyrhythmic thing. You start to hear 5, but then the underlying aspect is still 4. So that's when I say detecting the pattern logic. If you look at just the notes and just the tabs and you start learning this, you won't really gain so much from it as to saying, oh, we're superimposing something that doesn't fit. And that grind makes a contrast and makes for that lift of energy to come. And it's so simple in concept because it's a this is totally down my, like, this is straight up my alley in terms of playing and learning solos. If you know my playing or not, you can go to my personal website.com. It's like pentatonic stuff, but not like blues pentatonic, but like, crazy jazz pentatonics. I love that stuff. So I wanted to point your attention to basically how modern this is and how simple the pattern is, but it's the application of it that makes it very very complicated. Taking a four note pattern, doing it for 4 bars and saying, okay, that's the ground, establish a ground floor, and then going one more level of intensity with 5 notes. So it means that certain bars, the notes you're playing, they don't belong to that bar, they belong to the chord in the next bar, previous bar, and that's the beauty of it. I find this is exactly what it's all about. Lastly, so there's a descending line in the solo in bars 11 and 12, and then one of my favorite things happened where he goes, and I say he because it's Nick. So 1, 5, 5, so a fifth, and a fifth above. Fifth. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And then the pattern is varied. These things where you take a bar of eight notes, and instead of doing 4 and 4 or 2, 2, 2, 2, you go 3, 2, 3. This gives me goosebumps. I love that stuff. So bar, that's bar 13. Especially if you can pull off these things really fast. And what other pattern we got? It's still all inspired from the same thing. We get a good 4-note pattern in bar 17. So beginning the second chorus, you get all fourths. So then. And this is four beats, so it fits pretty well. And what do you get in bar 25? You still get a repeat over that 3 and 2 thing. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. I could sit, like, honestly, put sitcoms, sit in front of the TV, mute it, and just practice these things and watch sitcoms with subtitles. I did this right up my alley. So that's we had in bar 17. In bar 13 we got 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3 amounts to 8. So 3, 2, 3, and then we get 3, 3, 2 in bars 25 through probably 27. It's just a little tweak. So there's so much stuff, and then at the end we get a big surprise. Bar 29, you get these triplets that are way too difficult. I'm not even going to attempt to play it. So this means like going deep into a solo if you want to work on these things. However, as I always recommend, is you can really take the time to figure out what the pattern is and go, okay, I got it, take it, run with it, go on blues and try to play that pattern, to go on autumn leaves, try to play that pattern. And the beauty also is these patterns are parallel, and most of the time the notes fit the chords. It's not by sheer magic, but the point here is this. Say we started on, I'll take the first bar of the solo again, just to exemplify. So that's the 13, that's a 6 of F, then the sharp 11. What we are not doing, because the next chord is half step higher, we're not doing. It would be sort of boring to reassign the same scale degrees to the next chord. It has to be so that the pattern maintain its direction even though the chord changes. It makes the whole pattern even stronger, because what the pattern is telling you in musical information, if you will, it's telling you, I'm stronger than the changes. And when you play like that, when you improvise such that your idea is, there's a nice word for this, I guess it would be transcending. When your ideas are transcending the changes, then it means that you can play anything can happen. And then that's when you get into that Miles Davis zone where you feel free, which is a thing that I guess musicians, we all have to kind of live through that at least once in our lives. It's something I can say I aspire to, but that does not always work, because there's a lot of BS. There's a lot of chord change and scales, and it's like we want a bonjour. I told her not to disturb me, but now she comes and talks. It's her birthday. We can forgive her. Looking at me with big eyes. You're on camera. No, you're heard, but not on the camera. So that's it, guys. Thanks for coming and meeting my beautiful wife, V. She's turning 25 today. If you want to send her a happy birthday note or something. So thank you for watching. This has been the webinar for Beatrice for October 2018. I hope I did not give you guys too much. I hope it can clarify certain portions, especially as far as the chord melody. How do you substitute chords? major 7 sharp 5 chords. Telmo says happy birthday to V. Thank you. You only turned 25 once, right? That happened to me about like 2 years ago. Not. Once again, I will see you soon on jazzguitarlessons.net. Improve your jazz guitar playing with a real teacher. It's always a pleasure to hear from you guys. Thank you, Telmo, for being here, and Nathan also. You can comment on this video, and later on in time, if you have any sorts of questions, we love hearing from you. You can use support@jazzguitarlessons.net. You can use the little chat bubble. You can get in touch. Find us on the website. We'll help you. We will find you, and we will help you with those major 7 sharp 5 chord, whether you want it or not. Okay, so I will let you go, and I will see you in the next edition of the Tune of the Month Club webinar. Take care. Thank you. Bye.